Best of R / Entitled Parents episode 176. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. Hey everyone. This is my first time posting on this subreddit, so I'm going to give a bit of backstory. I have tons of stories to share, but this is the most recent. It is very short. Backstory: almost all of my entitled parent stories stem from my abusive mother, EM. Most of the abuse came because I am trans and gay, but that's a whole other story. Because of her, I have PTSD. About a month after I turned 18, I left her house and have slowly been cutting contact with her. My biggest two reasons for moving out are from the abuse and a constant invasion of privacy. Story: I have been continually trying to cut contact with EM, as having her in my life has been a huge mental strain. One of the big ways I'm trying to get her out of my life was to get off her phone plan. This has been extremely difficult because I have EDS and chronic fatigue, which makes it difficult for me to work. I have finally earned enough money that I am able to afford my own phone plan, so I order my new SIM card. I do email EM to let her know that I will be getting a new SIM card so she no longer has to worry about my phone on her plan. This is where things take a turn for the worse. "You can't do that" was the first few words in her email reply. After I read the next sentence, I literally went and vomited. She said, "I've been tracking you 3 times per day." I wish I could yell back that this is one of the reasons I left in the first place. I am a legal adult who is no longer in your custody. I am my own human being with my own boundaries, and even when I left you can't respect them. She ended with the words, "If you get a new SIM card I won't know where you are." Not, "I won't know if you're safe, but I won't know where you are." EM always played these power games, and getting off her phone plan is one step closer to me being free from her grasp. All I have left to do now is to get off her health insurance, then I will be free from her, at least in the legal sense. The emotional and physical scars she left will always be there. Despite this, my story does have a happy ending. She no longer has any way to track me, as I do have my new SIM card. The only way for her to get in touch is through an email I no longer use. Though things may have been hard, I'm in a safe and loving household now. If you all want any more entitled parent stories about EM, I'd be happy to share them. Thank you. Next. Hi. First of all, I apologize for my bad English. I am 14 and I am Dutch. So I am a huge Lego fan, especially Star Wars, and I have a sealed set from 2013. I bought that set for €80 and is now sealed around €400. So that is a good reason to not open it. A few weeks ago my cousin was in my room and I was going downstairs to get him a drink. My cousin is 9. When I got back I saw him opening the box. I said keep away from that. But he didn't, he just kept on opening everything, so I pulled him away. He cried so hard his mom, so my aunt came upstairs and saw me pulling him away from the Lego. She went nuts and screamed so hard my parents also came upstairs. I explained what happened and my parents said I had that set, keeping it sealed until I could sell it for €500. Then my aunt went crazy. She said that not a single set will ever cost €500 and that her beautiful son will play with it if he wanted. After a lot of swearing at me, she and her son got home. Well, I lost €300, so I just built it and put it on a shelf or something. But a few days ago I got a video from my aunt. She boughed the set sealed for herself, and she let the son open it and built it. I never been this mad before. So no happy ending, but my friend told me to write here. Thank you. Next. Hi there folks. I've been a long time lurker and thought that I should finally post my mom's entitled parents story, and yes, she said that I could. Also I'm on mobile, so yeah. Anyways, here we go. Cast, me equals me, M equals the demon, M equals my amazing mom. So for Christmas and my mother's birthday my grandma, M, didn't get my mom anything and said she was too busy. She wasn't, she just didn't care. But then on Mother's Day M decides to come to our state, and when she gets there she tells my mom she's in town, and all my mom said on the phone was okay, and she hung up and just went oh shit and walked out of the room. Then my grandma gets there and the conversation goes a bit like this. M, hey M, hi M, so today's Mother's Day, did you get me anything? M, no you never got me anything and you just ignored me. M, whining, well why do you need anything, I'm old and I could die any day. She's in her late 60s. You didn't choose to care about me on Christmas or my birthday, and you only come visiting us because you want a gift. You don't even come to see the kids. Well, you should have gotten me something because I'm your mother and I deserve it. No, you don't deserve anything. You never visit us and you hardly care about me. You never call even when I try to call you, so why should we do anything for you? Then screw you, you ungrateful brat. I'm leaving. Good. After that, leaves and we haven't really talked to her since, but my mom and my grandmother never had the best relationship. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the story. TL. Dr. M comes expecting gifts and then gets angry because her daughter didn't get her anything after M ignored her. Thank you. Next. I was going out shopping with the mum. Those carts/trolleys require a coin, 50 cents, to use. You can get it back when done. When we finished shopping, I went to put the cart back and realized the coin isn't even there. I went back and mum asked where goes I 50 cents. I told her I can't get the coin because it's not even there. Probably fell out while moving the cart. She then went ballistic and saying I can't do simple shit. I told her I can't get the coin if the coin isn't even there. She does not want to hear it and went on a tangent on how the new generations can't do anything but use phones. Boomer. She also brought up the topic of school, which has nothing to do with the situation. All over 50 fucking cents. I may be wrong, but I swear she is the one who's crazy, not me. Thank you. Next. First, some historical context. My family calls itself a Catholic, but we have never been that abiding to the church canon or protocol since I remember. My grandmother is a lady who was born in 1930 and had the good luck of having an awesome father who surrounded her with all kind of books. So the critic thinking has been in my family for 4 generations now. This happened back in 2002. My older brother, 26 at the time, and his girlfriend, 24 at the time, had decided to get married because of legal commodities. They both were in the first stages in their respective jobs. My brother is an engineer and was working on making a name for himself in his field. My, now, Sil is a dentist, who had recently begun to work in the public health system, so her work hours were crazy. She was called if there was an emergency, even if outside her shifts. As you can imagine, she didn't count with a lot of time to plan anything, and their common budget was not what a wedding budget you will expect. They were adamant on paying for their own wedding, saying it was their decision and their responsibility to take. So, they settled by a family meeting in my godfather's backyard. Simple food and family. No religious ceremony. Pretty simple, right? So in their own words, they could just stand there and be done with it. Starring E. Awesome but annoying elder brother. R. Then girlfriend. Now sister-in-law. EM. R's momzilla. H. R's sister. MB. Middle brother. Older than me. Younger than E. M. My awesome mom. Me. A lousy teenager just watching all the drama. It all began the night they told us they were planning to marry. Everyone said the mandatory congratulations and asked about plans, parents planning budgets and all that. My mom says she can help with the party, even if it's not traditional, and ours parents can pay for the church and all the religious ceremony thing involved. Here comes the our crap. Our money from the bride and groom. My mom looks at my brother with pride. She always does, even if he's just kicking a rock XD. EM then says that if they need something, to feel free to ask her or her husband, and that, of course, her gift would be the dress. She has seen a couple in a brochure from this shop that is a dream. Do I have to wear a special dress? EM looks at her as if she has just spewed her undeniable love towards Cthulhu. EM, of course you do. It's your wedding. I feel like we should clarify this. There's not gonna be a religious ceremony, or a big event. We are getting married because it's convenient for us. Me, happily eating spaghetti bolognese. Then began the first blackmail fit. EM began sobbing. How could they disrespect the church in that way? They would be living in sin. How could they do this to her? R was the only daughter she was going to see getting married in her lifetime. Look at her sister. She was an old maid and would never give her that joy. Spoiler alert. The older sister, H. She's not an old maid. She was 27 at the time and doing everything with a pulse that consented to share a bed with her. And alright, even if they don't want a religious wedding, at the very least she should buy a dress. How is she getting married in a potato sack? Yep, that were the words. At this point, me, MB and H just share a look, because a disaster was imminent. H, why don't we all compromise on something? We can all go dress shopping, find something appropriate and at the same time look special. Me, even touring another store, or more than one. By this point my grandmother was getting stressed, and I was dizzy because of the high pitch of the yelling, so I just wanted them out of my nose. I was not precisely happy but agreed, and to try to placate things even more, the commissioned her mom with all the preparations for the reception, gave specifications. I heard her saying something small like 15 times, and the card with the money. She claimed that with the little time her job left this would be better. We all thought it was true. The day of the shopping, I was dragged with them along with my moms. I have never been fond of shopping trips. I find them boring and my medical condition is not precisely ideal for them, but I complied. I saw her getting stuffed in God knows how many dresses. EM was in heaven, saying one and the other were prettier than the last one. But at the end of the day this was a civil wedding, so I choose one that was not a wedding dress. It was white, but just above the knee, with long sleeves. The fabric was the sparkle of the entire thing, not a single shine, red stone, or something remotely wedding-esque. Blackout cut 2, 3 weeks before the wedding. I was in the patio arranging things to get my dog home. She has just been born. When I see R rushing in with a giant box in tow. R is little, shorter than me and I am 156 megatons giant. She looked pretty upset and my brother wasn't home. So I rushed behind her to see if she was okay. When I asked her what happened, she sputtered, threw the box away as if it burned and began walking our living room. I tried to sit her down, talk to her until she was a little bit more collected and offer juice. In this house I'm the only person who has ever enjoyed alcoholic drinks and I was 15 at the moment. And while I went to fetch it, I called my brother and shouted for my mom for reinforcements. After the things have calmed a little bit, my mom consoling her for we didn't even know why my brother finally arrived. R shows a box. It's a giant dress, with all the looks of a meringue cupcake, ruffles, red stones, a heart-shaped cleavage, a veil, and I think even gloves. I'm not that sure, and R began to cry. The dress was the least of the problems. It turned out EM had booked a church's decorations, a priest, flowers, candles, and for the reception a 5-course banquet, a giant designer's cake, decorators because I have to make my godfather's backyard look presentable and chosen the invitations. All of this paying with the card I gave her, which was perhaps around 10% or something of the like of the total price for all the nonsense. Obviously, they got everything returned, have a couple of problems with some people who do not accept cancellations, but the bank took care of it. The story has a happy ending though. They had to do something before EM got wind of the things, so in that very moment, they jumped in my brother's car, went to the courthouse and got married, stopped on the way back to my house to buy a ton of pizza, frappuccinos for everyone and fruit tarts from our favorite bakery from when we were kids, texted everyone that they had just gotten married and that everyone was welcome to celebrate with them at home. When R's dad and sister arrived, they said EM was deeply hurt and offended and that she was not putting a foot in that ridiculous party, not after the disregard of all her efforts and job. It was better for everybody. Today they are still married, have a teenage kid who is both joy and work but who we all love deeply. EM is still there, sometimes making a fuss, but my brother has gotten very good at handling her. Thank you. Next. Please forgive me if I get a bit descriptive, but I think I need to keep from giving a false impression of me. First off, I really like small women. Part of it is my mom and a number of the women in my family are short, and if I can find a woman who can even slightly compare to my mom I will be the luckiest man on earth, and live up to the Lelo and stick line tiny, but fierce. Time, spring break. Place, featuring Lauderdale. Cast, me a lovable but pure $$ hole. EPD entitled parents daughter, ED entitled dad, EM entitled mom, FCF friend cop female, FCP friend cop's partner, male. The story, about 10-15 years ago I was in college and featuring Lauderdale, made spring break fun easy to have LOL, so I decided to go down to the beach to do some photography homework. I ended up finishing near a bar a friend of mine worked at who told me about a nice scotch they had at the bar. It was a 20-year-old, single malt, estate bottling. Very rare for bar service, so I got a glass, went across the street to sit on the wave wall, drink my scotch, read my book, and ogle all the ladies on the beach. Sue me, I was 24 at the time. Thusly an idiot. After about an hour or so I was finishing my scotch, you don't rush good scotch, and thinking of heading out, a very lovely young lady approached and sat down beside me. Now to let you all understand, let me describe her. She was about 5'3", long red hair, petite, large A cup or small B, well proportioned, and a very definite womanly figure. She was wearing a bikini one-piece, started at a point between the legs spreading to about 1/3 of the way to her waistline before splitting into 2/3/4 strips that went up over her nipples before ending in a point and string tying behind the neck. Along the back the string went between her butt cheeks before splitting into 2 strings that came around and tied into the V just below the breasts with a cross string tying the 2 arms of the V together. Not an outfit for a child. We got talking and I decided to hang out a bit longer to see how things would go. After a bit I offered to grab us some drinks, but when she asked for a daiquiri I figured to cover my butt and asked if she had some id, as she was young looking enough to get me in trouble if I didn't check. So she pulled out an id saying she had turned 21 last month, legal yay, and handed it over to show the bartender. I came back about 15 minutes later with our drinks. The bartender had no problem with the id and we continued chatting. But, as things kept going and she continued to drink her drink, something started to come off as wrong. I started to think she was underage, but as the id passed muster with the bartender, I wasn't too worried as the fake id was on her if something came up. Enter EP. As we were finishing our drinks, and I was working up the nerve to invite her to my room, up walks a couple. Couldn't be more stereotypical tourists if they had actually used that white crap on their noses, and approaches the girl. Hey honey, where did you go? We've been looking everywhere for you. ED, seeing the ubiquitous red Solo cup. What's that you're drinking? EPD, I don't know, some sort of strawberry slushy type drink. He, pointing at me, got me. ED, grabs the cup and sniffs it. This is alcoholic. You gave my daughter an alcoholic drink. How dare you? I'm calling the cops. Grabs EPD by the arm and yanks her behind herself. You pervert. You probably drugged IT, didn't you? You'll go directly to jail giving a 15-year-old a drug drink. Obviously on hearing that the pucker factor went to 11. I mean I knew I did nothing wrong but still. 15. I tried to explain about the fake id and was about to get on them about her bikini, when I was cut off with, our daughter would never do something like that. Turns to EPD, would you honey? EPD shakes her head no. At this point I figure discretion is the better part of valor and sit back down, hoping the bartender would remember the id I showed him. I proceeded to sit and ignore the haranguing they were spewing and wait for the cops. I also noticed what looked like her id dropped in the sand behind the wall. This is important later. A few minutes later the cops arrived in the person of FCF, who was a D&D friend with me and the bartender, and her partner FCP. ED and EM, dragging EPD, immediately rush up to FCF spinning their tale of how I tried to drug EPD with an alcoholic drink, and when they mention my fake id excuse EPD actually opens her purse and offers to let them search it. After this FCF pulls the aside to get their statement and FCP approaches me with a very conflicted look. We had met a couple of times before and got along good, but this was pretty serious of a situation. Before he even said something, I asked him to lean over the wall and pointed to the fake id. After he retrieved the id and examined it I explained my side of the story. After my explanation he took a closer look at EPD's swimsuit and his eyes nearly popped out of his head at how skippy it was. If it had more than 5 square inches of fabric, including the strings, I would be shocked. FCP pulled FCF aside where they had a brief discussion before they arrested all 3 of them, EPD for a fake id and EM and ED for child endangerment, I think. We all heard later at the next D&D game that although they never went to jail, they were held for the entire 48 hours, had their vacation ruined and ended up with some major fines and are called to their state's DCFS. Ever since then my spidey sense goes off. I'm out of there. Hope you all enjoyed my EP experience. Thank you. Next. So you should read my other posse first, but you don't really have to. So I asked my mom what kind of cancer she had. She replied with leg cancer. That was why she couldn't walk. Last night I saw her walk to the kitchen, took out the ice cream, and started to watch Netflix. I got up and confronted her. She said that she crawled all the way here. Then I see my PC. I asked what happened, and I saw the footage from the video camera. My mom is a control freak. She has a camera in every room of the house. So I go on my PC, and check out the footage. She also took a hammer, and hit my PC with it. Multiple times. Now the glass is 100% shattered and the metal is super dented. 2 of the fans are broken, so is the graphics card. Luckily, I have spare parts from the first PC that were somehow not broken, and my brother Com was downstairs. She starts laughing at me and takes a monitor and throws it on the ground, then jumps on it. My mom and my brother went upstairs and they told me to clean it up. When I finally finished, she came downstairs and shouted at me for being up so late. For your information, there were hundreds of tiny glass pieces on the ground and I cleaned them all up. So what she did was she took the glass and kicked it around the room. I couldn't sleep last night. Some info before you comment. I am 13. My father was working a night shift. Yes, he knows about this shit. He does his best to help. This is the 5th time my setup was attacked. I'll update over time.